Hello people of YouTube, it's Deepak here, and welcome to DCS World 2.9.21 and Eagle Dynamics NS430 module. Welcome to Tutorial 3, DirectTo and Procedure Modes. These are the last two major modes of the unit, and I'll demonstrate both today. DirectTo, allowing you to navigate from your current point to anywhere else without following a pre-designated course, and the procedure modes, allowing you to select standard arrivals, departures, and approaches for different airfields. Now, this actually only works for airfields that have published procedures, so this is mainly going to be civilian airfields. So, once again, let's jump into the cockpit. Right Shift and P to hide our pilot body. Turn on the battery switch, and at that point we could go ahead and use the unit. But just to save us from running out the battery, I'm going to tell the ground crew, as always, to plug us in so the battery doesn't drain. And yep, to turn on the unit, as before, turn up the comm power, that's also the power. Comm volume, sorry, and then press enter and enter again, and the unit will complete booting up. As in the previous tutorials, our waypoints, which were added in the mission editor, are already our default flight plan, so that's great. And we can go straight into three different methods of making use of DirectTo. Now, DirectTo is accessed using the DirectTo button, which is a D with an arrow going through it. And we can do it in text mode, which is the first one I'll demonstrate. We can enter that mode by just pressing DirectTo, and you can do this at any time during your flight, and you can use the text cursor to choose a point. So we're going to go direct to another airfield. We're going to choose Uniform, Golf, Sierra, and Sierra. And the system will confirm to us that is Sukumi. If we press enter to finish with our selection, it then gives us a little confirmation, do you want to activate this? If we press enter again, it will immediately suspend our current flight plan and just give us a flight plan from our current position directly to that location. So if I go to the main menu now, I can zoom out a little bit and we can see we just have a magenta line going directly to Sukumi. And if I go to page 1, we have our distance and our track and so on. That's all here. Now, note that this is effectively a single point flight plan, so it will set a course for us and will then be expected to maintain that course. So it will show us as kind of deviating after that point. So just be aware of that. And if we wanted to return to our scheduled flight plan, we can enter the flight plan mode, activate the cursor, scroll to the leg we want to activate, press menu, and press enter to activate the leg. It will confirm to us what that leg is going to look like, and then enter again, and we are back on our flight plan. So that's how you would come out of that DirectTo mode thereafter. Another way would be using the map cursor. This is another way of entering DirectTo. So I can zoom in a little bit, push to enable the cursor, and then the outer rotary is going to move the cursor horizontally, and the inner one is going to go vertically. So I'm going to roll this all the way over here. Actually, it might be easier with the display zoomed out a little bit. Means the cursor will move faster. Uniform Golf Kilo Sierra. Once we have the item we want on the cursor and its name is appearing here, we can hit DirectTo. It will be automatically entered into the text field. We can press enter if we're happy with that, and then enter one last time to activate. And we're now going direct to Uniform Golf Kilo Sierra using the map cursor. The last mechanism that you have, let's actually go back to normal flight plan. There we go. The last mechanism you have is using the nearest mode. So using the outer rotary, we can go to nearest. This is the last mode that we have in the system, and it has a whole bunch of pages, but only some of these are actually implemented. So we have nearest airports, nearest intersections, nearest NDBs, nearest VORs, and nearest user waypoints. We then have some pages that don't actually work in the sim. So let's say that we wanted to go direct to an airport. We push to enable the cursor, and then we can roll the outer rotary to get to the airfield that we want. and it's marking these kind of closest to furthest away. So let's say we want to fly to URMO. With it highlighted with the cursor, we press DirectTo. It pre-fills it in the DirectTo system, and it confirms to us that's Beslan. Enter again if we're happy with that, and a final enter will activate that DirectTo, and we're now going direct to that airfield. This is particularly useful in emergency situations. You're going to tend to want to go straight to nearest airport, activate the cursor, and then you're probably just going to choose the closest airport and hit the DirectTo if you have any kind of a problem. So those are the three different mechanisms you have for entering a DirectTo: text, map cursor, and nearest. Okay, now we're going to take a little look at procedures. So I've reloaded the flight plan. It's exactly as it was when we first created it. And we need to do a little bit of preparation before we can start looking at our departures, our arrivals, and our approaches. By default, when you have a flight plan that gets loaded from the mission editor, your origin point is correct. It actually has the airfield identifier. But if I enable the cursor and go down to the end, you'll see that our destination is simply a user point. This is no good for us. We need to put in an actual identifier. Now, also, in this case, I'm going to change our actual destination because our original destination was Batumi. That's a military airfield, and it doesn't have any published procedures. We're going to instead go to Lokini, I think it's pronounced. So let's go ahead and roll the inner and change this one. And we're instead going to go to Uniform, Golf, Tango, Bravo. And you can see here, it confirms to us that that is Lokini. So we're going to press enter here, and it's now flashing. It's showing that as our waypoint. Now, if we scroll down, though, we can see that it's simply placed it above the waypoint we were editing. So we still have waypoint 5. Let's hit clear and remove waypoint 5 from the flight plan. If we now go back to the flight plan, actually, we can do a long press on clear and roll forward one page. We can now see that we have waypoint 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going out over to Lokini. Perfect. That's great. Now, if we go into procedure mode, you'll see that we have options to select departures, arrivals, and approaches. So the departures are called SIDs, which is Standard Instrument Departures. These are published procedures. Generally, only civilian commercial airfields have them. Arrivals are called STARS, which is standard arrival. And then the approach will simply be the mechanism by which we will navigate to land. So usually that'll be an ILS or a non-precision NDB or VOR, something along those lines. It can also be visual, of course. Also note that this unit is not going to give you kind of instrument landing capability in any way. It's simply a reference. It's good to load these. So we're usually going to start by loading the departure. We'll hit enter here. And unfortunately, it's selected the wrong airfield. These are not actually our departures. So we're going to hit clear, and we're going to roll our cursor on this particular entry, and then use the outer to change to the next letter, and you'll see that immediately it actually jumped to showing Uniform Golf Kilo Oscar, which is Kutaisi. It's now showing the correct information. If I press enter, it will jump to the list of departures. This is now correct. So I'm going to use the inner rotary, and I want to fly the Nede to Delta departure. Now, we don't really have any information in the unit as to what these departures look like. It's an exercise for the viewer, unfortunately, to go online and download these charts. So for Kutaisi, Nede to Delta, if you can find charts for that, you'll then have your reference. In any case, I'm going to choose Nede to Delta, and then load is flashing. So I'm going to hit enter on that, and you can now see that our flight plan has those 2 departure points loaded in. So that's great. If we come out of flight plan and go into the map, we can bump down and we can see that we have the full departure now actually entered. Now, the only thing is that Nede is actually all the way out on the coast, and so it kind of bypasses waypoints 2 and 3. So let's clean this up a little bit, because we don't want to go all the way out here, then to go back round. So let's go into flight plan, activate the cursor, and actually I'm going to remove waypoint 1. We don't need it anymore. And you can now see that it makes a differentiation between the departure and the en route parts of the flight plan now, with that taken out. We can go to waypoint 2, also remove that, and waypoint 3 will also remove that. I'm doing the removal, by the way, by highlighting the entry and hitting the clear button, and then selecting yes. So Perfect. We now have a flight plan that looks a little bit more normal. And if we jump out of here, we can see, yep, we go out towards the coast, and then we're going back towards Lokini. Next, we'll hit procedure again, and then we're going to choose our arrival. This is our star. So we hit that, and I'm not sure if these are correct. Yeah, these are actually for our departure, so this is no good. We'll hit clear. We'll use the outer rotary to go up here to the airport. We'll make sure that it jumps to show Uniform Golf TB. That's great. We're now on the correct airfield. Hit enter, and it will show us the list of arrivals for this airfield. I'm going to choose the Baguette 6 Bravo arrival. Hit enter. And then I'm going to use the outer rotary to go down through all of these options. It jumped back to the top because there are in fact no other options for this arrival. So some arrivals might have multiple transitions and you could choose them using the inner rotary. This one does not. Some would also have multiple runways. This one is for all. So we can simply use the outer rotary to come down to load and press enter. And we've now loaded that arrival. If I enable the cursor and go all the way down through here, you can see that we've got our departure, our en route part, our arrival, and then it finishes with the actual airfield. Perfect. This is looking really good. Last thing we're going to do is hit procedure and choose the approach at our destination. Hit enter, and it gives us two choices for this particular airfield. We can have the ILS for 13 right or the VOR for 13 right. I'm going to choose the ILS, press enter. You can have vectors, which would mean that air traffic control will direct you to the point. It wouldn't give any further guidance. Or you can choose a transition from a point. We used a BAG-M arrival, so actually we want to choose this point because that's where we're going to end up at the end of our arrival procedure. So we'll hit enter on that, and then when we're happy, we can hit load. You have the option of immediately activating it. If we were already in the air and we immediately wanted guidance to the final approach fix, then we would do that. Because we're still on the ground and we haven't flown the flight plan yet, we just want to load it. So hit enter. We now get a warning that GPS guidance is only for monitoring, but that's fine. We're happy with that. We know that we're not going to use this to actually, we're not going to be focusing on this. We're going to actually use our eyes. We're going to do the approach visually. So hit enter, and you'll now see that if I enable the cursor again, we have the departure procedure, the en route part, the arrival, and then the actual approach to ILS for 13 right. And that goes through a series of points that eventually gets us onto the final, and then we land at the airfield. And that's looking pretty good. If we come out of the flight plan and open the map, I'll range it out a little bit. It's hard to see here, but we now have a bunch of points down here that take us right into the runway. So this is great. You'll see that our mode is now departure. After we've flown the departure, it would switch to en route. After we fly past en route, it would automatically switch to arrival, and then the actual approach to the runway we have to manually activate. So we do that while we're in flight. So once we've flown the whole flight plan and we arrive at the airfield, we press procedure again, and you'll see we now have two new options. We have vector to final, and we have activate the vector to final and activate the approach. Normally we would activate the approach and then we'll fly through all the standard points to line up with the runway and land. Alternatively, if you've done a go-around and you want to immediately return to the final approach fix and then reattempt your landing, you would use this activate vector to final option. So normally you're going to activate the normal approach. And that's the entire system. That is how procedure mode works. So today I demonstrated DirectTo and I demonstrated procedure mode. I hope you all enjoyed that. Fly safe, and I'll see you next time.